everybody. Sorry about all the crazy stuff today. Give me 1 second. Looks like I'm still having some. Okay. So sorry today. Today's has been crazy. So I was late. Sorry about that. And then I couldn't get my I don't know. I couldn't get my screen to show up. And now there's yeah, it's just crazy. Okay. So I couldn't get my character to show up on the screen. And then I couldn't track. It wasn't tracking for some reason. I don't know. It was weird. And when I finally got it I just about canceled the stream because I couldn't get it. And then I started closing all my stuff. I think I closed OBS and I closed the Kindle and everything, and then it started working. So I don't know. So apparently it seems to be a common problem with a few people I've seen online. But I haven't seen a solution of what to do when that happens. So I even deleted, I deleted the program and everything, and it still didn't work. So, well, at least it's working now. So I'm glad for that. So, anyways, let me know how it's going. As you could tell, mine's a little crazy right now, but it's okay. We're here, and now we're going to do this. So if you don't recall that we are doing a reading today, and it's the unfamiliar territory, which I forgot. I didn't get to watch the video yet, but I need the table of contents. Let's see here. Let's exit this full screen. So okay, so apparently at the beginning of each of the author's books, which is Rachel Lindsay Carter, she apparently adds a little snippet thing. Let's see. Right here. Okay. So apparently at every book of hers, she actually kind of she dedicates her books to one of her cats, which I find very interesting because I love cats. I'm a big cat person. Honestly, I have 4 of my own. So I love this. That's kind of why I chose this book, because it is cat-ish related, So anyway, so this here says, "Thanks for being my companion for 21 years." I'm going to watch the video. It's on, I think she said it was on TikTok or something. But anyways, so from the sound of it, it sounds like this cat's no longer around. That's kind of sad. I don't know. So anyways, I did watch the video of the second book that she talks about her cat. And she has videos. They're cute, of her cat that she donated. That cat right there, that she dedicated in the second book, that cat's 17 years old. So this one right here says it was 21. So I thought that was really nice and sweet. If you haven't, check her out. Go on TikToks, and I'm sure the video about Mercedes is on there. So I just want to mention that because I thought that was really sweet. Let's see. Okay. So we were on chapter 4. That's where we left off. My goal is to get through like 2 chapters at least, but we'll see. Because part of the problem is that I can't read for very long, and whatnot. So, okay, we're going to start, and I'm going to try to slow down because I feel like I'm reading kind of fast, and I don't know. I'm like reading stuff about reading out loud, and supposedly, you want to read slower just to help y'all listen and hear and stuff. So here we go. Okay. A part of my magical heritage that I haven't yet discussed is my unusual way of aging. First of all, while mundane cats have an average life of 15 years, give or take a few, my family lives much longer. How much longer? Well, it's hard to say exactly what our lifespan is because of one amazing fact. We only age when we are in cat form. That means the more I stay human, the slower I age. I could easily extend my life by an extra 40 or 50 years if I spent the majority of that time in my non-natural form. The only rub in this plan is the fact that the longer I continuously wear my human form without taking breaks to be a cat, the more unpleasant I feel. I liken it to wearing an already uncomfortable suit. It's not so bad when you first put it on, and any discomfort is easy to ignore. But then, after a couple hours, imagine somebody comes along and pours sand down the back, massaging it around the inside of the clothing. Later on, they add more sand. And then still later, they switch to placing biting ants in the clothing. Lastly, they blow smoke in your face every 5 minutes. By the end, all you desire is to strip off the offending article and thoroughly bathe yourself and be comfortable at last. To be honest, that sounds awful and that just sounds painful. Doesn't sound just discomfort, it just sounds painful. Because I know, sand can scratch yourself. And then the ants, I have been around fighting fire ants, and they freaking hurt. Like, when they bite you, it was awful. This is not just comfortable, this is uncomfortable, this is just torture, to be honest. Because those ants could freaking hurt. So, alright, sorry for the little, Anyways, okay. My record was about 12 hours in one go as a human without any cat breaks. It was fairly horrible by the end. This time, between all the driving to and from Hooded Mountain, stalking the werewolf, and dealing with the town of Veridel, I was approaching my 6th hour. Nowhere near as long as my record, but I was definitely feeling the strain. It was, by now, about 5 in the morning. The darkness that had persisted through our nighttime encounters was just giving way to a grayness that hinted at a beautiful late summer dawn. I could tell it was going to be a glorious day, but in the moment, Contemplating the weather was the furthest thing from my mind. I needed rest. I needed to dehumanize myself. I needed my real body back. We had traveled in our wagon for a good hour to get enough distance between ourselves and Veridel. This was a habit of mine. It's not that I thought the townspeople would do something bad to us, but human nature was not something I put a lot of trust into, especially in small, tight-knit communities. Sometimes the drive to protect their own causes people to react violently. It was always better to be safe and exhausted than sorry. Luckily for us, I found a perfect little pull-off from the main road that was nicely hidden, by young trees lining the roadside. Give me 1 second, little break here. Alright. Once the wagon was safely settled, I had to see to my employees' comfort before even thinking about my own. I unharnessed Humbert and hastily curried him. As a bonus means of thanks for all his hard work, I fetched a bucket of apples and carrots from the back of the wagon and politely dumped them at his feet. Only after he began to munch on his well-earned bonus did I jump back into the driver's seat of the wagon. There, after one quick glance at my surroundings to verify utmost privacy, I transformed. Ah, pure bliss. After wearing my human form for so many hours, I have been getting quite achy and uncomfortable. To be my true self again felt like stripping out of that sand and ant-infested suit and slipping into a plush robe made of clouds. Not only that, but my olfactory and hearing senses instantly sharpened, barricading me with myriad scents and sounds that had previously gone undetected by my inferior human organs. I gave my fur head a brisk shake before taking a deep, relaxing breath, soaking up the returning bodily comfort. My belly made a squelching sound of hunger. Intruding on my zen moment, Humbert swung his massive head in my direction, his jaw working on an apple or carrot. I breathed in deeply to sniff his horsey breath. Based on the scent smell wafting my way, I could discern with accuracy that it was an apple being crunched between his massive teeth. I closed my eyes for a brief second, affirming my trust in my equine employee. To be honest, horses don't smell good. They kind of stink. Oh, hey, loud bro, gamey. I hope I said that correctly. Because I think that's like a 0 that's in your name. So hi. I hope you're doing well. So anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, horses don't, they stink. They smell. So I don't know why she enjoys this smell of her horse here. So, alright. I opened them again. Humbert tossed his head at me, still chewing with pleasure. Thank you, mistress, he said to me. Despite our differences in size and species, I thankfully had no problem understanding him when I was a cat. This wasn't true of all species. For instance, I had a very hard time understanding prey animals, such as rodents. I assumed it was a built-in mechanism to make cats not feel guilty about killing sentient beings for sustenance. Thank you, Humbert, I replied, and sorry for the late night. Good work out there. Get some sleep. There's a stream nearby, and I trust you'll feel comfortable to forage on your own. Delighted, mistress, he returned. Good night. Give me 1 second for a little break. Little break here. Thanks, I appreciate it. Loudbro said, hey, I'm gonna go to bed just wanting to show some viewer support, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Thank you. And have a good night. Sleep well. Alright, we are going to continue. Humbert was a simple soul and a devoted employee. From the start, he refused to call me anything but mistress, an obvious indication of his devout loyalty to me. His speech and mannerism were slow and deliberate, and he was now never quick to anger, even when I pushed him hard, which I tried to avoid. Despite his advanced age, he still enjoyed being useful, and I was glad of the fact that I had saved him from a certain retirement involving dog food and glue. Wishing him a pleasant rest, I jumped through the open wagon hatch into the cozy interior. The wagon, our home away from home, was small, just big enough for a tall man to lay down comfortably. We kept the wagon sparse. Just a couple of thin mattresses on the floor for the comfort of ourselves and for the hapless humans we occasionally transported. On the one side, I had hung various tools of trade, such as the silver shackles. A shallow cupboard held food and toiletries at the front of the wagon. Below the window hatch, I surveyed the contents of the cave-like interior for my cupboard perch. Graham was already in there, taking up much of the space, and the lamp was still on, buzzing softly with the free energy. Jumping onto the mattress, I transformed back into a human to tend to a few chores. First thing, I bolted the inner lock on the doors with my key. I then safely tucked the key into my vast pocket. This was a safety precaution that I preferred every time we slept within the confines of the wagon. I figure it was foolproof for one reason. I did not need to strip my clothes off before becoming a cat. This was yet another unique trait of my heritage. Whenever I shifted back into my cat form, whatever I happened to be wearing disappeared. But when I became a human again, it automatically reappeared. I didn't fully understand how it worked, but I imagined that the shimmery bit of my transformation acted as a interdimensional pocket that stored whatever I happened to be clothed in while it was my true self. Whatever the machine-ish was, it was awesome. I saved a fortune on my clothing because I didn't change daily. The best part was that as long as I groomed myself thoroughly as a cat, my human body and clothes stayed sparkly clean, so I never had to do laundry. And this bit of magic apply to anything that happened to be in my pockets at the time of transformation, too. In other words, the key that locked us in would stay in my interdimensional pocket until I chose to shift back to human. There wasn't a being I knew of who could dive from that. Oops. Having thanks, I appreciate it. I'm trying to get people to talk and stuff. I have been told that because of what I'm doing, it's very difficult to get people to talk. So I appreciate it. Alright, so having deposited the key in my pocket, I opened the cupboard and took out a good supply of jerky and a jug of water for both Grim and me. That little Mac said, "Yeah, but you got this. Thank you." 2 bowls were next to be taken out of the cupboard. A dainty porcelain one that I had procured at a flea market, and a deep mixing bowl of a large canine. These I filled with water, and then set everything on the bare floor of the wagon, slightly away from our sleeping area in case one of us got a little sloppy with our drinking habits. Hint, I wasn't talking about myself. Cats never slosh water out of their mouths, unlike messy canines. I reverted to cat form to eat and drink. Just a side thing, that is not true. Like, I have cats, and these cats not so much, but in the past I've had a cat that would play with water. So they're just as messy, to be honest, as canines, yeah. Okay, sorry for a side note. I reverted to cat form to eat and drink. Naturally, I ate less as a cat than I would as a human, so our food supply lasted us longer on the road. I had also found that my taste buds vastly differed between my human body and my true form. While I wasn't always packed back up food for our work excursions, there were times that we ran out before our job was finished. It had become habit to rely on my hunting skills and live off rodents, birds, or even reptiles in a pinch. While we traveled, As a true cat, these small animal bodies tasted just fine to me, minus certain organs. As a human, however, the thought of consuming a raw mouse absolutely repulsed me. Luckily, jerky tasted delicious in either of my forms. It wasn't the most amazing breakfast, perhaps, but the dried meat soothed our bellies after the physical activities of the night. It would do until we made it back to home base, our ultimate destination after we got some sleep. Our meal was finished. I shimmered up again in order to return the water bowls to the cupboard. I also extracted the earnings from this venture from my vest pocket and made a mental note to divide it up accordingly. 40% for me, 40% for Grim, 5% for Humbert's wages, with which I paid for his food and care. And the last 15% for our manager, Floretta. For now, though, I was too exhausted to calculate any sums, and I was content to simply stash the money in the small locked box in a hidden spot within the cupboard. Lastly, I turned off the lamp, plunging the two of us into complete darkness and eliminating the faint yet annoying buzz sound. And then I shed my humanity for the final time before sleep. Grim was sprawled on his side, a large, furry mound of warm dog flesh for me to cuddle into. I stretched luxuriantly and nestled into his belly, giving myself a hasty grooming. I was too tired to tend to my whole body, so hold on. So I settled for a quick face wash, mentally noting to do a more thorough job once I was more rested. I tucked myself deeper into Grim's side, letting out a subtle purr. Good job out there, I mentioned with a yawn. He grunted softly. Same to you. That werewolf was softer than most. It was easy. It didn't get... Oh, hold on. Where was I? Oh. He didn't get a single bite in. How about you? Did the man try to bilk you? He was referring to Deputy Jones. Good old Grim. He always had my back. I stretched out my front leg, claws extended to maximum reach. Always, he lowballed me by 400 a flea ball. They have to try, don't they? I laid the arm over Grim's elbow, keeping my claws politely tucked. Grim's side rumbled with a very low growl. He repositioned himself, sitting his body more upright and curling around me, lowering his head to be closer to my body with his chin touching the mattress. He jostled me with his movement, which was rather irritating. But I quickly found my groove in his side and resettled myself. In the near darkness of the wagon, I caught a twinkle of light as his left eye moved over mine. Just say the word and I'll bite the next one that tries to stiff you, he gravely informed me. I licked his ear with that was closest to my face. I appreciate it, but sometimes I need to fight my own battles. How else are they going to learn that I'm not just a dumb and pathetic female? Grim snored. Smartest cat I know. Human too, for that matter. I purred lazily, pleased by his comment. Night, partner, I murmured as my purrs dwindled. Night, Chris, he sleepily replied. Break here. So little Mac, that little Mac said, "Phone died. Back now. What happened to the cat lady?" What was the last part you heard? Because I don't know where you left off. And actually, if you give me 1 second, I gotta go get something while you type that answer. Okay, sorry, I had to grab my phone charger because I thought my phone will last, but it didn't. So yeah, so when you get a chance, just tell me where you left off. Okay, where did I? Okay, so it was just over a year ago. I had left my mom with her reluctant blessing at the abandoned barn because I was restless. Even knowing that my life had a grand, although abstract purpose, I wanted to do something more, something tangible, with myself and my magical gift, and so I had recently decided to be a bounty hunter, as I figured it would allow me an adventurous life while I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Simultaneously doing some good in the world by capturing wanted criminals. I have been warned by Floretta, my new manager, to start out small, but I didn't want to listen to reason. After all, secretly being able to morph from cat to human and vice versa gave me a huge advantage over my competition. In my mind, I was still very young and very inexperienced with life in general, and a tad impudent, perhaps, looking back. So, I ignored the advice and chose my very first hunt, not a thief or a domestic abuser, but a man wanted for murder. His name was Amos Frost. He was wanted, dead or alive, for the grand total of $3,000 for the killing of 5 different individuals spanning 4 different small towns in the Sunrise Mountain region of Vinland. His last known whereabouts had been outside a town called Jet. The artwork on his wanted poster showed a gaunt man with a large pockmark on his right cheek. Cheek and horsey. Hold on. Did I skip? No? Okay. Crooked teeth. The artist had done his best to make Frost appear angry and scary, as if to frighten people away from the thought of apprehending him. But I wasn't scared. I was captivated. I didn't have my wagon yet, nor Humbert. The easiest way to travel was to hitch a ride on an unexpected wagon in my true form. It took 2 days of this hitchhiking to reach Jet, where I resumed my human form to ask for news. Declaring myself a bounty hunter. I lost my spot. I went about seeking answers, but I was only met with derision. Nobody took me seriously. The sheriff of Jet threatened to send my parents if I didn't stop sticking my nose into serious men's business. His words, not mine. Frustrated by the misogyny being thrown my way, I transformed back into a cat to try a different approach. Nobody took any notice of a new stray in town, although I did attract the attention of some of the local cats. One of them told me she had smelled the bad man in town not long ago. Although the scent had dissipated quickly, she said the scent had been found at the back of town where a path led into the surrounding forest. I was worried about how long ago the cat had actually discovered the scent. Time is a hard thing for many mundane animals to grasp. I assumed she meant days ago, but it could have been a mere hours or as long as a month when she had first noticed the scent. However, a lead was a lead, so I thanked her and went to look for this path. Did you happen to figure out or remember where you left off before your phone died? Just let me know. So basically, okay. So you don't need me to answer. Did you figure it out then? Just basically, like, the whole story is about the cat lady. She's the main character. So okay. Where did we go? Okay. It was easy to find as it had a sign marked Jet Valley Nature Trail, Sunrise River 2 miles. Okay. Good. That little Mac said she was dividing the wages, and I understand where it's going now. Good audience skills. Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that, you're able to still understand and know what's going on. Okay. It was obvious that the residents of Jet had no desire to do any nature walking, as they had barricaded the start of the trail off. I paid no attention to the barricade, but slipped past it with ease. It was late afternoon by the time I reached the trail's end by the river. There were no signs anybody had been there for some time. I almost gave this lead up as a dead end when my cat ears pricked up. A very faint sound coming from upriver to the left. It sounded to me like a pained whine. I picked my way through the brush near the river, thinking it safer to keep hidden. I slinked along in this fashion for 15 minutes before the brush then to a clearing, where a shack sat hidden from the river's view. A rusty fence with cruel barbs lined the perimeter. A disturbing scent of decay and filth permeated the property, and I wonder if this was the smell of the bad man the cat had told me about. If so, it was very fresh. Oops. Sorry, that's my alarm. It was very fresh. I sat and observed a statue of catlessness for many minutes before hearing once again the sound that originally drew me to this place. It came from within the shack. It was an animal in pain, that much I could surmise. My senses pricked up no other signs of activity. Steeling myself, I crept under the wire and sneaked over to the shack. I didn't want to risk transforming here in the open, and I assumed the door was locked anyways, so I scouted around for an alternative way into the interior. Hey, sorry. since you're on here, can you tell me if you hear like the music and stuff? I haven't been able to get anybody to like tell me if you're able to hear music and if it's too loud or not. So that would be very helpful, and I would appreciate it. Okay. Continuing. Where did I go? I assumed the door was locked anyway, so I scouted around for an alternative way into the interior. There was a broken window on the left side, hidden from my previous vantage point. The jump was doable, even if the window ledge was narrow. I crouched and sprang. I grabbed the ledge with my front paws, using my back paws to hoist myself up the rest of the way. Once I was properly stationed, I looked through the broken pane. Okay. Oh. You know what? Hold on. Oh. Do you still hear the static? 'Cause I think I left something on that I usually turn off. But if there's... Hold on. There's supposed to be music. I don't know. Okay, so I think what you were hearing was my fish tank. So I accidentally forgot to turn it because the filter, like the water, makes noise. Okay, is it super loud? 'Cause, like, is that too loud, or can you still hear me? Okay, I can turn it up and down. Because I want to have like a little bit of music while I'm like reading and stuff. So, okay, now we'll continue reading. Where were we? Oh, right here. A little loud. Okay. Is that better? Okay. It was my first glimpse of Grim. He was crammed into a steel kennel that was almost too small for him, with a muzzle on his snout that was definitely too small for him. The muzzle was so tight that he could only open his mouth enough to stick his tongue out and lick frantically at his nose. I imagined the insides of his lips were painfully abrade from digging up against his pointed canines. A bowl of water was placed in front of him, but he could barely wet his nose, snout-bound as he was. From the window, I could see his coat was matted, soiled, and he was malnourished and dehydrated. By the way, thank you for helping with the music. So, I did some fast thinking. It angered me to no end to see a beast imprisoned like this. Clearly, he was dying, but given his grand size, was he trustworthy? After all, he could easily kill me in my natural state, and even in my human form, if he was so inclined. I weighed the pros and cons for a minute before deciding what to do. As sick as he was, he hadn't heard me at the window despite my noisy jump. I leapt down into the shack, which caused him to startle. He tried to sit up in the crate. A lackluster growl came from his throat. Hush, I reprimand. Do you want me to help you or not? His eyes became huge. You aren't ordinary, are you? He asked, staring at me and twitching his nose. No, I was not, and neither was he. That much I could tell the moment he spoke to me. Despite his disheveled appearance, he had a way about him, like he was a prince among dogs. I shook my head in answer, a very uncat-like gesture, and he understood me in a very unmundane dog-like. Yes, please help me, he responded after a moment's hesitation. I took a breath. Okay, stay calm, I replied. Closing my eyes, I shimmered into a human before him. I opened my eyes to see his yellow ones boring into me, slightly fearful, but result and hopeful. He gave a curt head nod. I returned it and unlatched the crate. He painfully extracted himself from it and then sat on his haunches before me, waiting. I looked him directly in the eye. I trust, I said, although my heart fluttered and my hand shook. He stood stock still as I fumbled into the clasps of his muzzle. At last, the straps came free and slowly moved it off his face. He stayed still even then. Keeping our eyes locked, I dropped my muzzle on the floor of the shack, and then I transformed. I am in your debt, he said immediately. I have been locked up for nearly 2 weeks, and the muzzle hasn't come off once. I've barely been able to drink with it on, and I haven't eaten anything but the thinnest gruel. The evil man had wanted to take the muzzle off, but every time he tried, I attempted to kill him. I don't think I would have lasted much longer had you not come along. We aren't out yet, I responded quietly. With the large dog in tow, I didn't think the broken window was an option for escape. I glanced at the door. A deadbolt caught my eye. I turned back to him. I'll get you out of here and find your owner. He started to say something, but I was already turning into my human counterpart, and I could no longer understand his canine language. Once I had hands, I undid the deadbolt and cautiously placed my hand on the knob to open the door. The door, seemingly under its own volition, flew wide open. Taken by surprise, my hand never left the knob, and I was yanked forward out of the shack. I lost my grip and fell to my knees. I heard the door latch shut behind me as a boot on my back pushed me to the ground. From inside the shack, I could hear furious barking, muffled by the closed door. So, I've caught a little fly. A voice sneered over me. Rough hands grasped my shoulders and flipped me to my back. Standing over me was a very dirty man with a puckered pockmark marring his face. Amos Frost. His wanted poster hadn't done him justice. He was much scarier in real life. Upon seeing my face, Frost smiled and licked his face. Such a pretty fly, too, he added luxuriously. It's almost a shame to have to add you to my list. Oh well. The barking within continued, taking on a frantic note. Frost ignored it and took a step towards me, the ugly smile never leaving his face. Gathering what wits I still had, I raised my knee back and kicked out with all my might, connecting my foot with his shin. Frost bellowed with pain and rage. The creepy smile finally dissipating. I tried to get up, but he fell on top of me as soon as I had rolled back to my hands and knees, making me fall back to my stomach as he trapped my body between his legs. Frost grabbed a massive fistful of my blonde hair, tugging my head back at a painful angle. You're going to regret that, he threatened into my ear, his breath contaminating the air with such potence that I gagged a little. From the corner of my eye, I witnessed him reaching behind himself with his free hand and removing a long, curved knife from his belt. I admit, I whimpered at this point, too petrified to act rationally. He tilted my head back even more with a vicious yank on my hair. I screamed, a high, hoarse sound with no power behind it, giving the angle of my throat. As the scream left my mouth, the unmistakable sound of glass breaking erupted behind us. I closed my eyes, expecting to feel the sharp kiss of the blade on my throat, but instead the weight of Frost's body was abruptly gone. The hand holding my hair yanked one more time, taking a few strands with it. I opened my eyes at the sound of another scream. Frost, the dog, stood over him, growling and holding the man's neck in his teeth. In one swift moment, the black beast ripped out Frost's throat. The scream turned to gurgles as blood spurted haphazardly out of the gaping wound. Death was quick, if not quite clean. Blood dripping from his muzzle, the dog looked at me. I let out a... I just saw your message. Sorry. That little Max said, cat lady going to die. I don't know. So I actually have not read this either, so this is my first time. So I don't know what's gonna happen. So, let's see. Well, I mean, obviously, the dog came and saved her at this point. Okay. Blood dripping from his muzzle, the dog looked at me. I let out a single, body-heaving sob before becoming a cat. I tried to make myself as small as possible, cowering into a ball with my puffed-up tail wrapped around me, a flimsy security blanket against the terror I had just been subjected to. I blinked my wide blue eyes at the black dog before me. You saved my life. Thank you. He shook his head impotently and padded over to me, each step ungraceful. The jump through the window and ensuing activity had taken its toll on him in his emaciated state. Just returning the favor, he said before falling over in exhaustion. If I didn't do something fast, he wouldn't survive. Of that I was sure. I couldn't tolerate that. I sprang back into human form and grabbed the dish that had been in his kennel. I ran to the river and filled it with fresh water. On my way back to the dog, I spied 2 freshly killed rabbits near the fence gate. Frost must have been coming back from checking his snares when he realized he had unwanted company. I made a quick detour to grab the rabbits too, then fell to my knees in front of the dog. Here, I said as a human, offering the water first. He understood me and began lapping up the water in big, long slurps. The fresh blood that coated his muzzle quickly turned the water pink. I had to look away to quell the sudden queasiness the sight gave me. Not too much at once, I cautioned, not sure how much the dog could understand of my human tongue. Even if the words didn't make sense, the canine paused in his lapping. I had been right about his superior intelligence. The dog was becoming hydrated, but he needed fuel to heal his body. I glanced around and spied Frost's knife. Why? My would-be murder weapon, lying on the grass, a foot from the corpse. I hustled over and grabbed the knife by the handle, feeling suddenly squeamish. I used the curved blade to cut open the belly of the first dead rabbit. It let the entrails spill out a bit before placing the carcass in front of the dog. Here, eat. Not waiting for a response, I got up and went into the shack to look for something with which to carry the corpse back to town. My pickings were slim, and I finally settled for an old, stained quilt that had adorned an equally old and stained mattress in one corner of the room. Quilt in hand, I went back outside and laid it on the ground next to the body. I did not want to touch Frost again, but I worked up the nerve to drag his stinking corpse onto the blanket and then folded it over him to hide him from view. By that time, the dog had made a quick work of the rabbit. I fetched him a bit more water and then changed to a cat. Better? I asked him. Better. He still sounded exhausted. He laid his head down on the grass and licked his muzzle. I kept my distance still, unsure of what to do. It was twilight by then, and the adrenaline had been coursed so freely through me now left me weary. My name is Grim. This statement came out of the blue as I watched him. Oh, I gotta remember. Okay, so the main character's name is pronounced, it's like Priscilla, I believe is what the writer told me. Cause she sent me, she wanted me to make sure I pronounced that right. So I think it was Priscilla, if I remember correctly. So, Priscilla Curtin, I added. Come here, Priscilla. Graham beckoned, giving his tail a small, gentle wag. I'll need your body warmth tonight. I hesitate for a second, trying to determine if he was friendly as he sounded. I finally concluded he meant well, and I awkwardly nestled into his side. With the corpse of a bad man just a few feet away and the stars above us, we both slept the exhausted sleep of survivors. I awoke at dawn, and with the mountains in the background, I saw firsthand why they were called the Sunrise Mountains. Even with my slightly colored, compromised cat eyes, the sky was brilliant. I briefly transformed into a human to fully appreciate the complete majesty of the sight. The pinks and orange mixed with the blues and purples over the mountaintops in a symphony of natural splendor. I was transported back to reality when from behind me, Graham groaned and stretched his legs. I went back to cat form so that we could talk. Good morning, I greeted, rarely unsure of how much the dog would remember me. Priscilla, good morning. Well, he remembered my name. That was a good sign. I like to go back to town today with the body. Are you well enough to walk the distance? With more water and maybe the other wet rabbit to eat, I could walk it, yes. We spent the morning resting and gathering up Grimm's strength. I tested him by having him walk the river. Hold on. Break time, sorry. I gotta take a drink. So I think, because this chapter is a little bit longer than the other ones have been, I think this is the only chapter we're going to be able to get through. So, okay, continuing. We spent the morning resting, gathering up Grimm's strength. I tested him by having him walk to the river to drink and relieve himself. I also dunked his soiled coat carefully, washing away 2 weeks of dirt and oil, along with the remaining blood from his recent gruesome kill. Back at the shack's yard, he told me his story as he ate. His mother was owned by a monk who lived alone in the mountains. Not the Sunrise Mountains, Grimm clarified, but some range much farther away. The monk bred the lichen huns, a breed of dog with a small amount of natural magic in their blood. This magic allowed them to live longer than mundane dogs, but negatively affects their fecundity. Grimm's litter was only his mother's second, and she was approaching the age of 20 years at his birth. Grimm was one of the three puppies in his litter, the other two being females. When he was 2 years old, still very much a puppy for a lichen hunt, Grimm was sold to a man who had made the journey to find the monk. Grimm told me his new master was a kind man who, although he didn't treat Grimm as a pet, gave him a good life with plenty of food and exercise in a warm home. I was happy with my master, he said. The monk has started my werewolf hunting training, and Master continued it. Master was very adroit with his teaching. This idyllic life lasted for 3 years. Grimm had by then reached... Alright, that little Max said, gotta head to bed, keep up the good work. Thank you. Good night. I hope you sleep well. You're probably not going to be missing much. So like I said, I'm just going to do this chapter. I'm starting to lose my voice. I gotta figure out how to be able to read longer without losing my voice. So, okay. This idyllic life lasted for 3 years. Grimm, oh wait. Does that help, even, while streaming? Or is that something you should do, before or after? Sorry, I keep on forgetting to read the messages. That little Max said, have honey and ginger tea. But, this idyllic life lasted for 3 years. Grimm had by then reached maturity and was proficient in his skill. But then, while out in the woods for a walk near the base of one of the Sunrise Mountains, Grimm felt something sting in his flank. He turned to go back to his master, but suddenly felt sleepy and heavy. Just before he passed out, he witnessed his master's murder by the knife of Frost. When he came to, he was muzzled and in the kennel. That little Max said, it helps stirring, but just as well either way. Ginger makes sure that your vocal cords don't get inflamed, and honey just generally helps keep it smooth. Okay, I will look into that, and I probably will have that for next time. I think the next stream I'm reading is on Wednesday, so I've been trying to do water, but water's not really helping. So thank you for the advice. It's very helpful. Frost tried to break me. He wanted to use me to hunt, but all I wanted to do was kill him. He would have killed me either by starvation or something else unpleasant in the run. Graham shuddered, and now I have no master. I have no home to go back to. At this last statement, Graham oozed despair. A working lichen hound was a happy lichen hound. A lichen hound with no purpose was a dog at loose ends. In that moment, I felt a small amount of kinship with him. With this unsatisfactory conclusion to his story, I decided it was time to leave this place of unhappy memories. A human again, I grabbed the corners of the quilt and dragged the corpse behind me. Graham brought up the rear. It was a hard 2 miles, and we were both exhausted by the time we reached Jet. I dragged Frost over to the sheriff's station. He saw me coming and made to shoo me away again. But something in my face made him stop. Without a word, I flung the quilt off the body. "I've come to collect," I said. The following days were a bit of a blur. I remember seeing respect in the sheriff's eyes, and that was the best reward of all. Of course, the $3,000 was lovely as well. I rented a room in the inn and insisted that Graham stay by my side the entire time. At first, the sheriff contended that the dog was the property of the deceased owner's family, but Graham told me his master had no living family, and this was seconded by the townsfolk who knew his master. In light of this, I told the sheriff the dog could be with whoever he wanted. Graham backed this up by growling menacingly at anyone who wasn't me. In the end, they agreed with my reasoning and let us alone. We stayed perhaps a week at the inn, sleeping, eating copious amounts of food, and recovering Graham's strength. We talked a fair bit as well when I locked in our room together. Despite being a tad overeager with this bounty and having it nearly mortally backfire, I was convinced I wanted to continue as a bounty hunter. I told Graham he was a free dog, but we had bonded over the course of our journey, and Graham was reluctant to leave me. It gave me an idea. What if we worked together? I asked him the day before we left Jet. You mean I would work for you? Graham mulled over this idea. No, I replied empathetically. I mean, together, as equals. I'm not your master, and I will never own you. You deserve the bounty for Frost as much as I do, because you were the one to bring him down. And many of the bounties I've seen are for werewolves and other supernaturals. You'd be indispensable to me. So partners? 50-50? I accept. And that was the beginning of our professional career. And as it turned out, a pretty incredible friendship. Okay, I think that's where we're ending. I didn't realize that was the end of the chapter. So, alright. So that's the end. Pretty good chapter. I love that we get a backstory of Brim and Presida, I think is how it's pronounced. I forgot to look at that too before the stream, just because of everything that was going on. But anyways, so yeah, I like the backstory, pretty good. There were some pretty intense, situations, like with Frost and stuff. Thank you for stopping, and thank you for, listening and stuff. I hope you enjoyed the story, actually. I know it's kind of like mid-story, mid-book for you. So, yeah, so just remember to, remember to follow me so that you can get notifications of when I go, when I go live and stuff. And don't forget to check out the YouTube, because this stuff is going to be posted on YouTube. But I have YouTube, TikTok, Bookstagram, all of that, Twitter and Bookstagram is where I try to keep the updates of when the streams are. So just remember those. So anyways, the next stream is on Wednesday, 9 o'clock is what I have. We're going to continue the story. Hopefully we'll get through like chapter 5 and 6. And whatnot. So, if there's anything else, if y'all want to share your thoughts, you can, about what we read so far. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. So, alright, well, I will see y'all later then.